Hi everyone. For this month's Fried Philosophy video, I present myself to you without clothing, but for really relevant and good reason. Today I'm going to be talking about naturism and nudism, and what exactly that is. I'm sure you can abstract some idea about it in your head. It may bring to mind hippies, radicals, or that guy you know that peed one time in the park and is now a sex offender. But first off, what's the story with clothing? Originally, I can imagine clothing as something that used to just keep people warm. It had to be invented for a purpose, and I feel like that's what the purpose was. And no one was like, hey, I'm offended, we need to invent clothing. No, bro, they were like, I'm fucking cold. That's why what some people consider uncivilized tribes today in Africa don't think it's as necessary to have clothing, and it's just standard and acceptable there because it's so hot. And clothing is kind of a luxury. Okay, then what about all these nudist communities? Why are they all over the world? What's up with that? Well, naturism and nudity suggests that a naked human body isn't inherently sexual. However, as time, religion, and society have sprung up their own ideals, covering up became associated with modesty, which itself had to become a virtue, as opposed to always having been one. And hell, some Islamic groups prescribe that the women wear entire burqas, where they're entirely covered, except for the eye spot, which they see out of. For a little perspective, a lot of these camps are doing this in the desert, where it's like one of the hottest places on earth, and they're making people cover up like that. But what's most interesting about that culture is there are some women who don't want to be covered, but there are some that do. Some don't care either way. There's a diversity of opinion on the subject of hijabs and modesty and burqas, but I'm most fascinated by the case of the woman who wants to be covered in a burqa all the time. In our modern day experience, we run the gamut of people who are nudist and women who want to wear burqas. Yet, in America at least, it's okay for, say, a woman to wear a bikini at the beach. This acceptance might have led to things like strip clubs, where it becomes something of value for a woman to show her boobs and be promiscuous with them. That's something some of us desire to see and are willing to pay for, because in our society, boobs are very sexualized. I see topless women on Bourbon Street selling tips for pics. They walk around without a shirt on and people tip them. The fact that it's a taboo for a woman to show her breasts in public make a money transaction possible. Meanwhile, men get it easy. Hell, my dad hardly ever wears their shirt, and no one gives a shit. At least not an outrage shit. What else is interesting is, as recently as about 100 years ago, men had to cover up just like women at the beach and stuff. That's why you see all those one-piece suits back in the 20s and 30s. Men had to cover their tops and their nipples too. Then one day there was just a series of revolts, and bam. We live in a society today where it's a social norm for a guy not to wear a shirt in public. If nothing else, it means much less if a guy isn't wearing a shirt in public. There's less social consequence for him to do so. Drastically so. Besides this being extremely unfair to women, and me recognizing it, there's still so much cultural indoctrination that I myself fight with. I'm constantly trying to reconcile this notion that women should be able to walk around topless, if they want to, and society shouldn't make them uncomfortable for that. We should all be able to walk around naked. The problem is that most people don't see these things from a historical or philosophical perspective. They never question these norms. Instead, they hold on to them as if they were holy or something. God, modesty, virginal, oh yeah, right, come on. Even if you're unable to separate sexuality from a nude human body, which I can think of as the biggest obstacle in terms of the societal acceptance of nudity. At least admit however things are, whatever is going on in the world right now, it's inherently wrong for women to be objectified just for their bodies, and for men to be reaping the benefits. Haven't we, I'm speaking on behalf of the entire male culture here, been bad enough to women over the centuries? The worst consequence of this is another social norm, and that's lack of confidence for one's own body. I touched upon this in another video, Fried Philosophy 4, the one with Jean Grey in it. She's way too awesome. Doesn't exist. A hatred for one's own body strikes us all, because some people are offended by a penis or a belly or a boob. I feel there needs to be a reconditioning, a new way of looking at the human body, as not necessarily a sexual object all the fucking time. But also, with bodies, there's nothing wrong with being naked, and there's nothing wrong with seeing naked people. Another thing is, have you ever imagined how much anxiety goes along with clothing? What to wear, when, why, how? Cheap clothes, expensive clothes, it can be maddening. I myself, as you can imagine, practice nudism as often as possible. It's convenient for one. I have less laundry. I love my body. You can too. I don't mean you can love my body. I mean you could love your own body. Like, that's totally possibly a thing. I get that may seem easy for me to say because I have arbitrarily good proportions. I can often feel self-conscious that I'm unable to attract women, or my face doesn't look good enough, or I'm kind of scrawny. Well, I try to take good care of myself. I'm fallible, and I'm definitely not perfect, and I accept that. But before I go, here are a few objections that I still have to the global acceptance of naturism and nudism as a thing. I can't deal with seeing anyone in my family naked. That's weird. This one time I was hanging out with some people and we were all naked and talking about philosophy. Some of the people in that group were husband and wife. I just couldn't stop feeling a sense of guilt that I could just see this dude's wife and she was just naked in front of me. I just felt uncomfortable. A lot of people are truly uncomfortable with their bodies, and there's always going to be people that are going to ridicule them for that, even if that person can accept the way they look. And this is the biggest one: societal backlash. Things are a certain way right now for a reason. If a collective perception change is going to take place, it's going to be gradual. So that's some stuff I don't have an answer for right now, because I don't think I'm entirely right with making naturism or nudism a thing. But let me tell you, there is nothing immoral or wrong about being naked. It's not something you should feel bad about or self-conscious about. It's just a body. It's the one you have. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see some past me stuff, I do a fried philosophy video just about every month. To see future me, please subscribe to this channel, or join my mailing list for a free book of mine, and to see when my next story is coming out. This is Ryan Starbloke, and you better have a good day.